In this video, I'm just going to go over the differences between pad motion and pad motion layers. In short, pad motion layers isn't intended to be in competition with pad motion, nor is it meant to replace it. Instead, think of it more as in addition to pad motion. It has different capabilities considering the infrastructure of it, and in some ways is a bit more efficient in moving around the multiple layers. So I'll quickly kind of play 3 different presets I have here to give you an idea of the sound that each of them offers. So this 4-layer thick cover, this is from pad motion. This is prior to the 3.0 update. So what we're hearing in this preset are 4 individual layers up here. So the first layer is a sample. Second layer, I believe, is also a sample. Third layer is your analog modeled synth. And the 4th layer is a wavetable. So we're hearing all of those in combination. Going up to the 3-layer thick marsh, let's play this. I'll just say what it is. The first layer is the grain. Second layer, I believe, is sample. And the 3rd layer is your synth layer. So you've got the analog modeled synth and the wavetable. So we're hearing all 4 different engines in this preset. So both of those presets are from pad motion. This one is pad motion 3 and the other one is prior to pad motion 3. So let's go to pad motion layers. This does not have multiple layers at the top here. Instead, it's got 4 internal layers, built much like how Cycle is in regards to its layers. So we have layer 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'll just play it briefly. So both of these instruments excel at making pads and adding motion to them. So let's dig in for just a little bit here and see what sets them apart. So with pad motion layers, as I've already pointed out, it has 4 internal layers here. The way we've set up the modulation is a bit different. So with each layer, it has its own set of modulation independent of each other. So for layer 1, which is what we're viewing right now, we have an LFO, a step modulator, and a user envelope. These are already assigned to certain things. As you'll notice as I turn on or off the LFO, certain things up here and over here become highlighted. Those are the destinations for the LFO. They've already been pre-assigned to certain parameters like the volume, the pan, the tune, cutoff, and the distortion. We can tweak how much of the LFO is affecting these certain parameters by the fader next to them. So as we can see, this LFO is affecting the volume by a certain amount, the pan by a certain amount, the tune by a certain amount, and the cutoff by a certain amount. If you want to change any of this, all you have to do is drag it and do such. Or if you want to zero it out, you can just control click or command click. And that puts it at 0, so it's no longer affecting the tune. If I were to solo this layer and just hear what that sounds like. So that's our LFO affecting the volume and the pan here. I can put the tune back on. Or zero it out. I can also change it over here on the distortion. And that works the same for the step modulator. If I were to turn that on, we can see that it's affecting the volume, and it doesn't appear to be doing anything else. The gate is pre-assigned and is only assigned to the volume over here. You can turn that on there or from this spot. And the user envelope operates the same as the others, as you can see. It goes to the same parameters. So this is how we've dealt with the modulation in here. What it allows is just unique and different ways to affect certain parameters within each layer. It's just a little different than how we've done it with pad motion. And I'll go over that on pad motion right now. So let me go to this preset here. Each one of these individual layers has its own set of modulations, much like in pad motion layers. However, it has two assignable LFOs, and you can choose the destinations from this drop-down menu. Same with the step modulator and the user envelope. Then it has a pitch envelope, as well as a volume and a pan LFO, so these are pre-assigned. Now if you go to pad motion 3.0, we also have a gate in there as well. So modulation's handled a bit differently in pad motion than it is in pad motion layers. You have more assignable modulation modules, whereas pad motion layers are already pre-assigned to certain parameters. Another thing I'd like to point out in pad motion layers is you do not have the multiple engines. You have two engines that you can choose from. You have the sample and the grain. I can switch between them here. So technically, you can have 4 layers of sample, 4 layers of grain, or any mixture of those. And lastly, the way you can balance between the layers using the XY is one thing that really sets it apart from pad motion. You don't have this option in pad motion when you have a multi-layered preset. So I can balance the layers just by moving the XY. I can also automate this. If I right-click the X here, you can learn. It's the same with the Y. And so you can automate this as you sequence it in your DAW. To do something similar in pad motion may be a bit more cumbersome. If I go to the 4 layer, you have the level control down here, but you'll have to balance it individually doing such. These are assignable, but again, it may be a bit more cumbersome. So overall, pad motion layers, since it's newer on the market, has a little over 700 presets as it stands right now. I'm sure given updates in the future, we'll continue to add to that number. Pad motion has at least double that. So if you're a previous owner of pad motion, there are upgrade paths available. If you have pad motion layers and would like to get pad motion, again, there's cross-grade prices available for you as well. So hopefully this video was able to clear up any confusion that there may be in the difference between pad motion and pad motion layers.